Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. And dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our today's discussion. It is again a discussion on the poem in the waiting room by Elizabeth Bishop, but it has been bifurcated into two portions due to quite a bulky length of this discussion. Therefore, you will have to reconnect and connect these two portions of our discussion on this very poem by Elizabeth Bishop. अजीज तलबा व तालिबात, क्रिटिकल रिव्यू नज़म का टेक्सचुअल रीडिंग के बाद इन द वेटिंग रूम, जैसा कि आप इसके टेक्स्ट में से गुजरते हुए अंदाज़ा कर चुके हैं कि ये एक डिटेल्ड डिस्कशन की डिमांड करती है ये नज़म, तो लिहाजा बेटे ये यहाँ जो है वो हम इस डिस्कशन को दो हिस्सों में तकसीम करेंगे। आपसे गुजारिश है कि आप पहले पोर्शन को दूसरे पोर्शन के साथ कनेक्ट करके इंटरलिंक करके जो है वो लेसन में से गो थ्रू हों, अपनी टेक्स्ट जो है वो इस नज़म के से सामने रखें while going through the critical review of this poem, so that you may be able to apprehend and relish the main ideas, the themes better in a better way from examination point of view. Let's start our today's discussion now. Dear students, after going through the textual reading of the poem, we are now well aware that this poem in the waiting room is a long 99 line long poem which has been divided into 5 stanzas that focuses on the reactions of a young girl who, while she is sitting and waiting for her aunt Consuelo in the dentist's waiting room, picks up a National Geographic magazine casually and looks at the pictures, photographs therein. The story setting is very simple as we have gone through the poem. एक बच्ची है जो एक डेंटिस्ट के वेटिंग रूम में बैठी है, अपनी आंट के साथ आई है वहाँ। उसकी आंट जो है वो उसकी अपॉइंटमेंट थी डॉक्टर साहब के साथ, तो वो वहाँ बैठी जो है वो कैजुअली जो है वो एक मैगज़ीन वहाँ पड़ा है नेशनल जियोग्राफिक का, उसे उठा लेती है और देखना शुरू करती है। वहाँ जो तस्वीरें हैं, अगरचे मैं बड़े आयरनिक और फ़नी वे में ये बताती है कि मैं 6-7 बरस की लड़की हूँ और पढ़ना भी जानती हूँ, आई कैन रीड, लेकिन जो है वो कैजुअली जो है वो इसकी पिक्चर्स में से, फ़ोटोग्राफ्स में से गुज़रती है, तो उसकी कैफियत जो है जिसे किसी हद तक आप स्ट्रीम ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस कह सकते हैं। बिशप हैज़ यूज्ड द टेक्निक, बोरोइंग इट फ्रॉम वर्जीनिया वुल्फ शोरली, द इंग्लिश नॉवलिस्ट, एसेइस्ट, क्रिटिक। तो बेटे ये किसी हद तक जो है वो ये साइको एनालिटिकल पोएम जो है वो हमें एक सादा मंजर से एक बड़े सिनेरियो की तरफ जो है वो धीरे धीरे लेकर चलती है। चेंज ऑफ मूड्स जो है वो यहाँ आप उसका मुशाहिदा करते हैं और फिर जो है वो बात इससे आगे निकलती चली जाती है। फ्रॉम दिस वेरी लिटिल वर्ल्ड ऑफ द डेंटिस्ट्स वेटिंग रूम वी enter into a very larger world of existence, human existence. From that very moment on the poem, the poem takes the reader into the mind of this young 6-year or 7-year-old girl, captivated and slightly horrified by what she sees in the adult magazine. Remember, this magazine is lying there on the table, and it is not meant for a child to go through it. It is a magazine that is meant for the adults, and she by chance goes through that magazine. She is still in the waiting room, aware of all that goes on around her. She hears her aunt's scream, cry, but emotionally she is transported to a different place, into the world of the unknown rather. यकदम जो है वो इसको ये बेटे वहाँ बैठी तो ज़रूर है फिजिकली, एंड शी इज़ श्योरली गोइंग थ्रू दैट अडल्ट मैगजीन ऑफ नेशनल जियोग्राफिक इशू, लेकिन ये जो इसको वो एक रेवलेशन का सामना है, एंड शी इज़ इमोशनली ट्रांसपोर्टेड टू सम अदर वर्ल्ड सडनली, coming out of the physical and going into the metaphysical world, that is going from innocence to adulthood, that is from going from this small world of the dentist's communal workshop to the larger world of reality outside, that is the crude world outside that is waiting for her to emerge as an adult. Dear students, the poem In the Waiting Room starts and ends with straight facts of life. The reader knows exactly where and when this little girl's emotional state begins to change. She will soon grow up and become a woman, a connected member of the human race. But it won't be easy. It is painful, like a visit to the dentist is painful. You are sure to suffer. You are sure to go through pain and suffering there in a dentist's clinic. Just like this visit to the dentist, the visit to the outer world of crudeness, of human race, of human beings, is a very painful experience for a girl that is just growing up in imagination, in her fancy. Elizabeth Bishop's mix of literal and figurative language combines to create a fascinating insight into what it means to come of age, बलूगत हासिल करना, मेच्योरिटी की तरफ जाना. ये एक प्रोसेस है, क्रिएटिव प्रोसेस भी है श्योरली, लेकिन इस प्रोसेस जो है वो इट इज़ ऑलवेज पेनफुल. इन द वेटिंग रूम पोएम is a free verse poem. There is no regular set and rhyme scheme to the lines and no rhyme pattern at all. The overall impression is that the form is prose chopped into punctuated lines rather. But everything is balanced. Everything is in a connected shape. The story flows like a lucid type of a water flowing stream. कहानी जो है वो बिल्कुल जो है वो एक फ्लो के साथ आगे बढ़ती है, विवेसिटी है, विविड है ये जो फैक्ट्स हैं, एंड देयर इज़ नथिंग सुपरफ्लुअस और नथिंग outrageous that might hinder the progress of thought or progress of the theme rather here and there. All words, all language chosen to relate the story and to relate the very inner working of the soul of that girl is very smooth and very pithy and very effective, emotional. That is, interconnectivity of words is very beautiful, balanced, systematic, and that is what Elizabeth Bishop as a poet aimed at as a poet, a perfectionist, you may say. However, dear students, the poet uses commas, dashes, and stops here and there, periods, full stops, to regulate the reader's pace of reading. So there are pauses to reflect the girl's hesitation as she sits digesting the pictures, entering into a new world, new entity, new world of known habitats. A little girl sits in the dentist's waiting room. Her aunt Consuelo is inside being worked on by the dentist. This is a simple enough start for the reader. We are even told the name of the town and the state as if the speaker wants to nail exactly where it is the event took place. Even the name of the child is given in the mid of the poem, Elizabeth. No question arises whether she is Elizabeth Bishop herself or another girl with the name of Elizabeth. तो दरमियान में जाकर हमें ना सिर्फ ये कि पूरे सीन को ये रियलिज़म दी गई है इस लिहाज से कि जगह का नाम, कस्बे का नाम, शहर का नाम दिया गया है, बल्कि उस बच्ची का नाम जो है वो एलिज़ाबेथ रखा गया है आगे जाकर। तो ये सवाल तो है यकीनन कि क्या ये ऑटोबायोग्राफिकल टच है, जस्ट लाइक शी हैज़ गिवन हर आंट्स फिगर इन द डेंटिस्ट क्लिनिक। तो उसकी आंट जो है जिसके साथ वो रहाइश पजीर थी उसको उसने यहाँ रिप्रेजेंट किया है आंट की शक्ल में नज़म में। तो क्या वो जो बच्ची है ये बिशप हरसेल्फ है, अपना एक्सपीरियंस बता रही है गोइंग इन टू द वर्ल्ड ऑफ अडल्टहुड? वी विल डिस्कस इट श्योरली। Dear students, to conclude this point of simplicity in the poem, we may very well say that it is a very simple start in a very simple language, surely. Yet, as the first stanza progresses, the little girl becomes increasingly aware of the slightly oppressive atmosphere all around her, outside that clinic, inside that clinic. Oppression is there. Oppression in shape of the suffering of a patient in the dentist's clinic and the sober atmosphere prevalent there. The adults are sitting very cool and calm and boring looking, and outside there is dark, cold nip in the air. She notices the early dark, the grown-ups, her aunt being a long time in that doctor's hands, in the hands of the doctor, being treated there as a patient. तो जो माहौल है बेटे वो धीरे धीरे जो है वो सादगी से ऑपरेशन की तरफ जो है वो जाता है, ओप्रेसिव एटमॉस्फेयर बन जाता है, भारी हो जाता है, हैवीली लोडेड एटमॉस्फेयर यू में से। बाहर डार्कनेस का मौजूद होना, ए अननोन मिस्ट्रीज की तरफ इशारा, और फिर ग्रोन अप्स वहाँ हैं, नुमाइंदगान। किस चीज़ के नुमाइंदगान हैं ये ह्यूमन वर्ल्ड के, जो बाहर की दुनिया है, बड़े लोगों की दुनिया है। और फिर आंट है उसकी जो सफ़र कर रही है इन द हैंड्स ऑफ ए डॉक्टर डेंटिस्ट। टू कीप बोर्डन एट बे शी पिक्स अप अ नेशनल जियोग्राफिक इशू lying there on a table. She is only 6 years old, but she is able to read what an adult magazine offers. That magazine, as has already been cleared out, is not meant for the children at all. This is a magazine that is meant for the reading of adults, as it contains some mature material, some adult material you may say. The pictures given in that magazine signify the impending change that is to come, the change that is imminent, that is to come. First an erupting volcano, आपको पता है ये वॉल्केनो जो हैं eruption की शक्ल में होते हैं. Then an eccentric couple, very eccentric, who just leave the living world of today and go into forests and jungles in search of new discoveries, into the world of animalism. Then a dead man who might be a meal for cannibals, and pointy-headed babies, black naked women with saggy breasts and strange long necks. The images here pile up and overwhelm the innocent girl suddenly, in shape of a shock, in shape of a startle, in shape of a wonder, in shape of a mystery. She is rather shaken from within on the sudden discovery of these images. The visuals she sees as living as she is herself. बेटे ये जो इमेजेस हैं, ये तस्वीरें जो हैं, फोटोग्राफ्स हैं, यकदम उसकी आंखों के सामने एक जिंदा दुनिया को पेश करते हैं. A living world is created before her eyes when she sees these photographs, looks at these pictures given in that magazine. And this is where she is shocked. She is shaken, shattered from within उसकी इनोसेंस को ज़रब लगती है. Her innocence is hurt, and now that is the point where she is broken from within, and she has now to find the broken, the lost identity. Is she a child? No, she is no more a child. She has just touched upon the borders of adulthood. She has now entered into the world of adulthood. She has gone into the world of the unknown. She has gone from innocence to the mysterious world of the unknown. She has gone from the physical to the metaphysical. She is now wandering and wavering in a world that is unknown to her. And this is a new consciousness she gains. This is a new phenomenon she enters into. This is the new awakening of the soul of that innocent child she has to face ahead. This is the new world she has created in her fancy. This is the new world she has to live in. This is what we may call the change of her universe, her own universe. Her universe was a limited one. She was an innocent child before touching that magazine. But now she is no more uh, an innocent child. She is now amongst and in between the adult human beings, the crude world of the outside that she has to be a part of. She has to be combined with, mingled with the world of other human beings. She is no more an isolated being of herself. As an individual, she is the only single child sitting there, a symbol of being all alone in the world. As a child, isolated, self secluded, but now she enters into the world of the other people who are sitting around her in shape of adults representing the whole human race, the world of the mankind, that is humankind. तो बेटे अब उसको जो है ये न्यू कॉन्शियसनेस, न्यू अवेयरनेस, नई रेवलेशन जो है वो उसका सामना है. Therefore, all these images have overwhelmingly overtaken her, overpowered her mind and soul. She is now emerging as something new, emerging something new. A creation is taking place, rather you may say. Whether this creation is a soul creation, or you may say inner creation or psychological creation, but it is there. It is the reality that she has to face now. Dear students, remember this point that this young girl is on the borders of two worlds. She has lost one identity, but she is trying to catch up to a new identity. This is the search she is now has to take upon herself. She has lost her identity as an innocent child, but now she has been given a new identity of an adult that she is not yet. बेटे ये दो आइडेंटिटीज़ के दरमियान में वो खड़ी है. शी इज़ राइट ऑन द बॉर्डर्स ऑफ दीज टू आइडेंटिटीज़, दीज टू रिकग्निशंस. ये दो दुनियाओं के दरमियान अब खड़ी है. एक इनोसेंस की दुनिया है, इमेच्योरिटी की दुनिया है, और दूसरी जो है वो अडल्टहुड की, मैच्योरिटी की दुनिया है, ग्रोन अप्स की दुनिया है. और ये दोनों जो आइडेंटिटीज़ हैं, they are now being intermingled, intermixed in that, in the mind and soul of that very small girl. She is too self-conscious to stop reading. She is too shy to stop, in the words of the poem. And looking so, she goes through the whole magazine before studying the cover, which seems to frame, like a picture frame, all of the images, the breasts in particular. तो जैसे होता है ना मैगजीन्स में ऊपर जो कवर होता है वो सारे अंदर की तस्वीर का खुलासा वहाँ छोटे छोटे तस्वीरों की शक्ल में, मिनिएचर तस्वीरों की शक्ल में दिया जाता है। तो ये जो टाइटल पेज है, कवर है, उस पर भी वो अंदर वाली तस्वीरें जहाँ वो दोबारा से जो है वो बाहर फिर दी गई हैं। तो शी हैज़ नॉट कम आउट ऑफ द ट्रेंस ऑफ दोज photographs. She just found in within the pages inside of that magazine. When she gets out of, rather stumbles out of the magazine pictures from within the pages onto the title of the magazine, she again faces the same kind of dilemma, the same kind of shock. She is again faced with the bitter reality of looking those pictures which just brought about the loss of her identity as a child. The reader is gradually taken into the mind of the girl. This is a deep dive into the psyche, into the stream of consciousness. Rather, we are floating into the mind of that girl, focused on the pages of the National Geographic. But then a cry of pain suddenly from the room, from her aunt, brings the speaker back into the reality of the waiting room. This reality is short lived, however, and she again plunges into that search of her identity and questions herself whether she is an adult or still she is a child. And this is what makes the poem interesting reading for us as readers. तो बेटे, शायरा जो है एलिजाबेथ बिशप जो है वो धीरे धीरे फिर उसके देखे कैसे ग्रेजुअल डेवलपमेंट करती हुई नज़म की हमें जो है वो उस बच्ची के जहन के अंदर जो अथल पथल जारी है, देयर इज़ अ वॉल्केनो being erupted of thoughts, emotions in the mind of that girl, in the soul of that girl. We have to dive deep with Elizabeth Bishop to find out the inner working of the soul of that girl. और ये हमें फिर उसके अंदर रूह के जो अंदर जो थल पथल है, eruption of emotions हो रही है, just like a volcano. तो हमें वहाँ जो है वो जाना पड़ता है। लेकिन फिर जो है वो हम वो झटका लगता है ना जब वो क्राई ऑफ पेन से, तो फिर वापस वो आती है लम्हे के लिए, एक लम्हे के लिए। शी ब्रिंग द पोएटेस ब्रिंग्स द चाइल्ड आउट ऑफ द एग्नी ऑफ दैट सोल बर्निंग to the world of reality at present in the waiting room. But again, the girl plunges into the reverie of those pictures and is caught up in the dilemma of that search of identity and recognition, which she has just a few seconds ago has lost while going through those pictures and photographs. Dear students, the little child, the little girl now flies over to a new identity of her own. She has lost her previous identity as a child, and now she is trying to enter and cover up a new identity of an adult. And this is a very painful process of search, discovery, revelation, epiphany. That is, the girl is facing a process of experience, a process of awareness, a process of self-recognition that borders onto many things here. The first hint, remember please, is taken from her Bishop's actual biography. Uh, you know, as readers, that Bishop had a peculiar kind of her own identity, living a life of seclusion, away from men folk, especially adopting a lesbian viewpoint. And there is a hint while going through these stanzas in between this poem of lesbianism, surely. Her aunt's familiar voice becomes her own unthinking family voice. She thinks that her aunt is a timid and foolish kind of lady, and the girl feels just like her aunt. The girl instinctively connects with her own blood and can't stop herself. She is rather her own aunt. Two become one and they are falling into the unknown world. The girl is falling out of her childhood and going into a different dimension of adulthood, a new identity. The consciousness of the child is changing, undergoing a big change rather. She becomes aware of her connection with her aunt and all the others gathered in the waiting room as adults. This is a shockingly odd type of epiphany, revelation, recognition. Everyone is in this world, together, combined, and even the girl herself will become one of them. She will grow up as an adult, become a woman with breasts open and naked. And this is what is teasing, what is hurting her mind, soul. She is hesitating to enter into this new identity, into this awareness, but still she is hanging on to the new identity, unable to recover her lost identity as a child, unable to uh, get into the world of the adulthood. She is rather wavering here and there between two realities of life, between two dimensions of the world. बेटे दो तीन नकात यहाँ शायरा ने नज़म में जो है वाजे करने की कोशिश की है। एक तो बेटे उसका लेस्बियन व्यू पॉइंट बड़ा वाजे है कि जब वो अपनी आंट के साथ सिमिलेट करती है अपने आप को, शी सिमिलेट्स ऑल द फीचर्स ऑफ हर एंट and covers up her lost identity into the new discovered identity of her adulthood. दूसरे ये चेंज ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस है, चेंज ऑफ अवेयरनेस है, चेंज ऑफ रेवलेशन है, चेंज ऑफ मूड है. She enters into the world of the unknown, a new world, a new creation, a new process. Soul searching is there, but she is still unable to connect and reconnect herself to which world she belongs in reality. She is physically a child, but spiritually and uh, quite amazingly, she has entered into the world of the adulthood. And she assimilates herself not only with her aunt, but also, unfortunately and regretfully, very regretfully, she also assimilates herself with that naked woman in the photograph and thinks that she has to play her part as an adult, just like that woman was playing her part in the open world of cruel realities. And despite her questions here and there and existential doubts whether she would survive there with new identity or not, growing into an adult will be painful, she is sure of. बच्ची को यह एहसास है कि ये पता नहीं मुझे सरवाइव कर सकूंगी मैं कि नहीं नई आइडेंटिटी के साथ, लेकिन ये उसे खबर है कि यकीनन ये एक पेनफुल प्रोसेस है, involving a few screams she has just heard. The adults screaming as she hears the scream of her aunt. But the process is unavoidable. Maturity has to come, but it has to come within time, progression. If it is natural, it is God gifted. Maturity has to come, we have to grow. It is a natural process. Biologically, we have to grow. Physically, we have to grow. But if this kind of progress, this kind of growth that is forced upon a child mentally is regretful, is shocking, is rather shameful, you may say. Bishop uses specific language to help reinforce the idea of alienation and discomfort, which surely she faced all her life. What future awaits this girl, pondering the ways and wear force of her identity, chewing over the strong images in the magazine as her mind aunt cries out in pain behind the dentist's door. She is fearful of what she might become. She can't know what will happen when she would become a woman. She only knows she isn't yet ready for that unlikely adult world. This is innocence that is persisting there, stopping her to go into the world of the unknown. But she has to go there as she has been thrust upon a new identity. Uh, Unknowingly, she has touched upon the borders of this new world of adulthood, new world of new realities. At the end of the poem, is there a sign of relief for this girl who seems to want time to stop and think over her new identity and her growth hormones not to exist? There is definite reality check. The girl, with no mention of Aunt Consuelo, no mention of the dental appointment ending, simply admits in the end that it is still February, she is still in Massachusetts, and humanity is still at war in shape of World War One. This is uh, rather a relief in the end that she comes back to the present. She regains her lost identity as a child in the end, but after suffering pangs of crying and screams and finding out what it takes to be a grown up. Dear students, now onwards we will look upon this poem from another angle, from another point of view. Young people often can't wait to grow up. Some are very anxious to grow up and take up the new responsibilities, take up the new consciousness. But that transition, that change from childhood to adulthood can be a challenging one, very challenging one, very painful, very wondersome, very striking, very dangerous sometimes. That is the case here in this poem. In the waiting room begins with the speaker, Elizabeth herself, you may say, sitting in the waiting room at the dentist's office on a dark winter afternoon or evening in Massachusetts. While she waits for her aunt, who is seeing the dentist, Elizabeth looks around and sees that the room is filled with adults. To keep herself occupied and busy, she reads a copy of National Geographic magazine lying there on the table. She looks at pictures of volcanoes, famous explorers, and people very different from herself, including naked black women and the babies in bad shape, pointed heads, and is scared by what she reads and sees, horrified. Suddenly, she hears a cry of pain from her aunt in the dentist's office and says that she realizes that it was me, not her aunt. Rather, she felt the pain, felt the suffering of the aunt as an adult. That the cry was coming from her aunt, but also from herself. She imagines that she and her aunt are the same person, modified and mingled, emerged, merged into one, and that they are falling, falling into some space, falling into some abyss. In an attempt to calm down herself, Elizabeth says to herself that she is just about to turn 7 years old, yet few days are left. She compares herself to the adults in the waiting room and wonders if she is one of them. She seems to realize that she is, and looking around, says that nothing stranger could ever happen to her. She is still a child. Elizabeth, that girl, or Elizabeth Bishop in the larger context, then questions her basic humanity and asks about the similarities between herself and other human beings, other adults living there. Elizabeth is overwhelmed. The waiting room is bright and hot, and she feels like she is sliding beneath a black wave of nothingness. Finally, she snaps out of it, this type of trance. She remembers that World War One is still going on. she is in the present again, and there she is in Massachusetts, and that is still a cold and slushy night in February 1918. National Geographic is a famous magazine that has been around since 1888 or somewhat like that. It covers topics such as geography, science, the environment, anthropology, history, culture, animal kingdom, and so on. The poem was written in free verse, as we have already uh, read about. It has no set rhyme scheme or meter, what we call meter in poetry. One interesting thing about the poem's form is that, in a way, it shrinks as it goes along. The speaker of the poem is Elizabeth, who may or may not be Elizabeth Bishop herself, who may or may not be recounting a real childhood experience. The title sets the scene of the poem itself in the waiting room, which takes place in the waiting room of a dentist's office. It is a kind of a strange place to set a poem in, just like the filling station, an ordinary place for a poem, for the topics to be discussed, larger topics to be discussed in the poems like this. It is the habit of Elizabeth Bishop to bring small things into prominence, small details into significant ones, the places which go unnoticed, the things which go unnoticed in general life are unimportant, insignificant, are made significant and prominent and important in her poems, just like this one. This place, the dentist's clinic, is not a proper place to write a poem about, but she takes this topic and brings about a very big poem full of ideas and fancies and whatnot. Dear students, as we know very well that Elizabeth Bishop is very well known for her finely tuned, balanced, and precise poems. In a Bishop poem, every word matters, every word counts. She is a master of detailed description, rather. The big questions that Elizabeth raises in this poem are really all about identity, search of a soul, search of a recognition. Who am I? What is my relationship to the outer world, to the other people? Can I be an individual and remain an individual the whole of my life and part of a greater humanity at the same time? This question, these questions, and others like these questions have not been answered explicitly. They have been left to the reader to be answered. Yet she is in search of some kind of identity. She has lost one identity, her precious childhood innocence, and she is now trying to catch on to the new identity of an adult. Then again, she thinks she can she retain her individuality as a human being, or has to become a part of a greater humanity at large, combined, overall. Elizabeth is acutely aware of the age difference between herself and the grown ups of the poem she presents. Elizabeth, as a child, the narrator of the poem, uh, has an intense reaction to the naked women in the magazine, so to say. We could even say that she overreacts to them. Elizabeth is both horrified and drawn to the African people in National Geographic, their strangeness, mystery of life, the color of their skin, their lack of clothing, their elaborate neck coils scares her. Whether it is simply a scare? No. There are many hints, my dear students. While we go through these images of the African subcontinent, the African continent, sorry, the dark world, the dark continent as it is labeled in the literary world, this dark continent represents many things, one at a time, depicted in this very small picture of this uh, continent. the tribal life represented by these pictures of a woman, of women and children, babies, and the dead body hanging on the nails on the pole. This picture, not only these pictures, these images taken from the dark continent, not simply convey the message of feminism, but also they point to the poverty there. They are leading a very, very poor life. They have no resources to live a life of clothing. They can't cover up their uh, bodies as the civilized world, so called civilized world, can. Then again, there is lack of civilization. Civilization teaches us clothing, civilization teaches us to live in a covering that is natural. But these people are living beyond civilization. Beyond civilization, the age of cannibalism has been hinted upon. But this type of savagery is not acceptable to the modern world. Two worlds have been compared here, my dear students. The world of the modern people, where there is each and every luxury of life, clothings, dressings, boots, she has used these images in the poem very elaborately, the long boots, the overcoats. But on the other hand, these people, the poor people in the African continent, have got no boots, no clothing even to wear on. They are naked on the whole, living a life of poverty. Then this nakedness also points to the exploitation of women in the larger context of feminism, the feministic point of view. And here it is the lesbian point of view as well, from Elizabeth Bishop's point of view, you may say. बेटे लेकिन ये जो कंपैरिजन है सिविलाइजेशंस का, कि तहजीब इंसान को जिस्म ढांपना सिखाती है, हाउ टू कवर आवर बॉडीज. वी कैन नॉट लिव इन नेचर, वी हैव टू बी सिविलाइज्ड, वी हैव टू बी ह्यूमन. तो ये जो कंपैरिजन है ना, वो वहाँ देखें, वो ये जो सुलझी हुई दुनिया के लोग हैं, नुमाइंदे अडल्टहुड के, जो उस वेटिंग रूम में हैं, वो लड़की देखती है उनके बूट्स, उनके ओवरकोट, उनकी ड्रेसिंग वगैरह सारा कुछ बयान किया हुआ है. और देखें वो जैसे वो हॉर्स एक्सप्लोरर्स जैसे आते हैं, वो ट्रैवलर्स जो हैं, दोनों मियाँ बीवी, वो कैसे सूटेड बूटेड हैं, और बूट उनके, और बाकायदा उनका जिक्र है उनकी शर्ट्स का, शॉर्ट शर्ट्स का, पजामाज का. तो इनके यहाँ जो है, जब आप कंपेयर करते हैं इनकी नेकेडनेस को इसके साथ, तो आप फ़ौरन महसूस कर जाते हैं कि द पोएट्स विशेस टू कन्वे द आइडिया of the civilized and the uncivilized world. That is a comparison, that is a contrast presented rather in a hidden shape. उसको हाईलाइट नहीं किया गया है, लेकिन बड़ी खूबसूरती से कन्वे कर दिया गया है. The idea of the poem is that the civilized world should provide some assistance to cover up this poverty, this nakedness. This nakedness is not intentional. Remember please. ये मजबूरी की नेकेडनेस है, तो इसको कवर अप करना चाहिए. वी शुड प्रोवाइड क्लोथिंग्स, ड्रेसिंग्स, फूड, रिप्लेस द डेड मैन बाय प्रॉपर फूड, लॉन्ग पिग. दिस इज द मैसेज. लीव वार्स असाइड, जंगें छोड़ें. जंगों से क्या मिलना है? मौत, र्यून, डिस्ट्रक्शन. जंगें छोड़ें. ये लोग हैं मुस्तहिक, इनकी जो है वो लॉन्ग पिग्स की जगह असल खुराक उनको फराहम करें, फूड फराहम करें, क्लोथिंग दें, कवर दें, शेल्टर दें, और इनको ह्यूमनिज़म सिखाएं, इनको तहजीब दें, ताकि ये हमारे जैसे लोग हमारे बराबर आकर खड़े हो जाएं और हम ह्यूमन बीइंग्स, ह्यूमैनिटी का, if we are to be a part of a larger humanity, we have to do this. This is the message of the poem. The crux of this poem in the waiting room is really the National Geographic magazine itself, center of all activity. Elizabeth seems quite proud of the fact that she can read this magazine for grown ups at such a immature age. Very sorry, dear students. While there is a quite calm, even suppressed presence of homoeroticism in uh, some of Bishop's works or poems, most notably in some uncollected poems which were not published. For the poem Edelman, a critic of Elizabeth Bishop, a researcher, examines in great detail in the waiting room a study of lesbian awakening does not appear to be the most fruitful reading of this poem. She uh, uh, has also given, surely she has given some hints of lesbianism, but uh, Edelman does not agree to this point. What the speaker Elizabeth reads in the copy of National Geographic is more than the pictures and descriptions of these naked women, but also the possibilities of cannibalism and decoration of babies through mutilation. Again, a sign of suppression, exploitation. Certainly, the poem shows gender awareness here and later in the poem. Again, comparing two poems by two poets, another famous poet, Adrian Rich, of the same age. This is quite unlike, for example, Adrian Rich's poem Trying to Talk with a Man, where the imagery of nuclear bomb blasting or testing is not the major issue at stake, but is rather a trope for understanding the combative relations between the sexes, the genders. For Bishop, World War I suggests a danger, impeding danger, as does nuclear testing for reach. But that danger is not one that arises because of gender identification or sex roles. Unlike the danger Reach specifically mentions, instead, it is the possibility of violence done by any human being to another on an individual level, on tribal level, or societal level, or global level as well. A woman to her baby, a man to another man, etc., etc. Varying from man to man, varying from region to region, varying from place to place, from city to city. Bishop wishes to make a large suggestion about the perplexity, the unlikeliness of being human, and she wants to be sure to make it through the perception of an individual, and Elizabeth, a child. Dear students, the poem relates both to modernism and postmodernism at the same time because Bishop doesn't just describe the images to the readers but goes into details about how the images make her feel and affect her life. She also asks difficult questions, posits them here and there that don't have a definitive answers, and this is postmodernism, and that promote thought in the reader, provoking thought-provoking type of questions, which relate to the more postmodern idea of leaving vague endings left to the interpretation, various interpretations of the writers at hand. तो बेटे दोनों तरह से हम जिसको कहते हैं कि ये नज़म जो है वो मॉडर्निज्म के का मटेरियल भी रखती है और पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म का मटेरियल भी अपने अंदर रखती है. मॉडर्निज्म का मटेरियल इसके इमेजेस में है और उनका इफ़ेक्ट और फीलिंग्स पर वो कैसे असर डालते हैं, और ये जो पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म है इसकी जो क्वेश्चनियरिंग है, क्वेश्चन आस्किंग है और अनआंसर्ड क्वेश्चंस जो हैं पोएम के, वो इसको पोस्ट मॉडर्न जो वो नज़म के तौर पर पेश करते हैं. Dear students, this is the end of our first part of discussion. The discussion on the poem will continue surely in the second part of our meeting on this topic. Till the next meeting, it is Allah Hafiz and goodbye from my side. Thank you very much for participating in today's debate. Thank you very much again.